and dad tipping in some cash to help you to buy a property, it only ticks one of the three boxes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So if you have bad credit, that ain't going to help you.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have the income and you don't have the borrowing capacity, it won't help you.
All right. Well, let me tell you about a couple of families, Mass. And I think it'd be good for you for you to kind of share what's your perspective on what strategy they can implement to be able to help this family.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is a young couple. They've just got married, and they've entered into the rental market.
Yeah.
Right. And so they're trying to find a rental property, and obviously it's tough.
Are they in Sydney?
They're in Sydney.
Yep, cool.
They're in Sydney, and you know they've gone to different open homes to get into a rental property. Eventually they got one, but now mum and dad offering to use their home, which they've owned for about 10 years. They've got equity in it, to be able to use that property to help their children get into a property. What would that strategy look like? How could that young couple utilize that property to be able to help them get into their first property?
Yeah, cool. Well, let's keep it really simple, right? So you only need three things to buy a property. You just need good credit, right? You need a borrowing capacity, which we just talked about, but a borrowing capacity just means how much money will a bank lend me to be able to buy a property based on my income, right? And then the last thing that you need is a deposit. So of those three things, you've got mum and dad, coming and saying, look, we really want to help you guys. We know it's tough to get into the property market. We've got equity in our property. We're happy to use our equity to help you to buy your first property.
Yep.
Right? And so first of all, young couples like, oh, this is it. Every one of our problems has been solved. What I want you to understand is getting access to equity from mum and dad tipping in some cash to help you to buy a property. It only ticks one of the three boxes.
Yeah. Okay.
Right? So if you have bad credit, that ain't going to help you.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't have the income and you don't have the borrowing capacity, it won't help you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But let's say you do have good credit.
Yeah.
And let's say you're a young couple, you both work and you got relatively good income. Maybe one's on 80, one's on 70, you're on about $150,000 a year. So you've got good income, enough money to go and buy a first property, right? So those two boxes are ticked, but you don't have the savings. You know, you're young, you've just got married, had a nice wedding. It wasn't amazing, but it was nice.
Wedding. It was a big wedding.
It was nice. You know, everyone was there. And now you're into the nuts and bolts of having a family.
Yeah.
And most couples, we should really get a home. We're renting. Rent's expensive, and not just that. You've got parents who are wise and have done the smart thing, and they've bought property 100%. Themselves. And in their mind, they're like, we want you to own, not rent.
Yeah.
Right. So in that scenario, what you do, there's two simple strategies. So strategy one, mum and dad can go into their bank, and they can or go to their broker or their lender or whoever it is, and they can access the equity. And the way that they would do that is they would just say, okay, we've got $300,000 in equity. Yep. Well, we want to increase our loan by $150,000, and we're going to give that $150,000 to our children to go buy a property.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And the kids are like, oh man, I knew I was the fave.
Yeah.
I know it.
Is that a common one, that first one?
Well, most people only know that.
Yeah.
Most people only know that
That's
strategy.
Right.
Well, we'll get the equity, we'll get a loan, we'll grab some cash out of the property, and we'll give the money to the kids. They can buy the property, and they'll pay us back eventually when they've got the equity, right? The challenge with that is mum and dad's mortgage just went up by $150,000.
Yeah.
And a lot of mum and dads, they're at the stage where their mortgages are relatively low. And so 150 is actually a lot. It's a lot, because if they're only owe 150, it's just doubled. No, but in terms of the total loan now. So if they've paid their loan down, they've owed it for quite a period of time, they might only owe 150, 200 on the property.
Yeah.
And then that's just gone up by another 150. So that's almost doubled. The mortgage is almost doubled to help the kids.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. Second thing is the repayment now goes up. Mum and dad's mortgage repayment goes up.
Who's paying for that?
Mum and dad pay it. Mum and dad.
Most cases, it's always like that.
Well, because the kids, the child that they're looking to help has a mortgage that they're going to get, and so they cover that mortgage.
Yeah, so they're just trying to cover that mortgage.
Yeah, they're just trying to cover the mortgage on the property they buy, and so mum and dad get the cash, they give the money, right? And this young couple that they love, their children, are now able to go out and buy property. Mum and dad get left holding the bag on the increase in their mortgage repayments. but they're like, it's all right. We want to help them. You know, we love our children, and we're in a position to do so.
Yeah.
You know, the kids have moved out. We've got a lot of spare money. It's fine.
Yeah.
Right. And then, so young Johnny gets the money. He tells his wife, babe, I told you, I got you. I'm the man. You know, let's go buy a property.
Yeah.
When they go and buy a property, they get their own mortgage.
Yeah, that's right.
You know, so they're not like, oh, we've got to pay that one. They're like, man, we've got to pay this one.
Yeah.
You know, and
a lot of time they want to buy the home.
Well, in all likelihood, the cost of the mortgage is going to be higher than the rent that they were paying. So their expenses go up, not down.
Down, yeah.
And they're like, oh, wow. And the parents are lecturing them. This is real. You know, you have to make sure you always pay your mortgage. Da, 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 da. And so they get really focused on meeting the mortgage repayments.
Yeah.
All the costs in their life just went up. And it's serious. We're married and now we've got a mortgage. Right? Yeah, well, I better go to work. You know what I mean? No mucking around. That's scenario one. Right? And then eventually...
But with that scenario one, does the property that the children buy, is that still tied to the parents' property?
No, because the parents have gone out and got a bigger mortgage.
Funds.
They've done equity tap, and they give them cash.
Yes, cash. So it's
cash. So separate, completely separate.
Okay.
Right, and then the hope is that when they get enough equity, they'll pay mum and dad the money back, and they'll kill the mortgage. So the downside of this is mum and dad get higher mortgage repayments. They're not young anymore. They've got higher mortgage repayments. They're almost ready to kill the mortgage.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen now. Second is young Johnny doesn't always pay the mortgage back. Sorry, doesn't always pay the parents back, even after he gets equity.
Yeah.
So that can happen as well.
Yeah.
So in scenario two, mum and dad will still go to the bank, but what they'll do is they'll go guarantor.
Okay.
And they'll do a family pledge. So they still use the property to pay for the property, to help to cover the deposit, but there's no physical cash that's given. They're not giving them the money. They're using a portion of value of the property, and they use a portion of that value for them to be able to buy a property.
Okay.
So what happens is mum and dad's mortgage doesn't go up. There's just an increased portion of the security is secured by the bank.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So if the value of the property, $150,000, they're like, well, we have security over an additional $150,000 with your property. So they're still able to help them. Young Johnny's still able to get into a property. However, young Johnny's not given the money, so there's no risk that he doesn't pay it back. Also, mum and dad don't have an increase in mortgage. Yeah. Yeah? So that's those two downsides are gone. The only challenge with young Johnny is when you get given $150K in cash, that increases your borrowing capacity by $150,000. You got more money to buy. But not increase the borrowing capacity, it increases the purchase price.
For Johnny.
For Johnny.
Yeah, so
right?
so he's got a bigger budget now.
Yeah, with the cash scenario, the first one. But in the second one, his budget doesn't go up. Stays at whatever it was previously.
But the second one, the properties, they're tied together.
Tied together, yeah. So the releasing of mum and dad and them getting paid back is certain. That's definitely going to happen.
And what's common? What's the most common one?
Most people do the first one because they don't know the second one. But the second one is smarter for mum and dad. Everyone still gets the outcome. The second one is a smarter play. So, a pledge as the parents. No money's changing hands. Mum and dad aren't stuck with a bigger mortgage repayment. Like, it's very, very clean and tidy.
Yeah, but if Johnny, in the second scenario, Johnny doesn't pay the mortgage, then that affects mum and dad's property. Yeah,
but so the mortgage still has to be paid in both scenarios. Still has to be paid in both scenarios.
So what's for you as obviously as a mentor, what's important for families to know when they're going into these sort of transactions, for the parents and the children to understand? Like, what's important for them to know for this to be successful?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the unity piece within the family. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And understanding the personality of your own children, and do we work together? How do we work together? Families have had to work together all their lives. Some families do it well. Some families don't do it well at all. Okay. So the first thing is you got to get on the same page. Yes, you want to help each other. The one thing that can hold families back is mum and dad are like, oh no, we've got to help everyone. I want to help all the kids. And so all I say to that is yes, but you help them one at a time. And you can use your house to help all of the kids get into the property market one at a time. Yeah. You do the first one, they get the thing, the property market goes up enough, you release the equity, you get paid the money back, then you help the next one. And the cool thing about that is normally not all the kids have property ambition. Yeah. Not all of them want to own a home. Yeah. But kids are interesting. Right?
So when one buys one.
Yeah. No one cares when no one owns a property. But when one of them owns a property and the others don't, well, now everybody's like, whoa.
Where am I?
What about fairness? The word fairness comes up. Well, is that fair? That's not fair. Right? And so
He's the youngest.
Yeah. Well, how come I always knew he was the favourite? It's like, no, he's ready and he's gone to mum and dad and he's and what the parents need to understand is they can help every single one of their children. They just got to do it in a sequence. But what happens is the desire to own property across the whole sibling set goes up when one of them owns property. That's right. So when none of them own property, none of them really focus or care about property. And when it's just talk, no one really cares. They're like, whatever, he always speaks. But man, when they're going over for barbecues on a Saturday, all of a sudden they're like, I want a house too. Where's my house?